Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Supermicro Computer. It is time for another update, and finally we have actually followed through in the preferred scenario where we were looking for a reset here within the wave B in green. We followed through there, and now we can look for a follow-up 5-wave move to the upside where we may have an interesting potential 1-2 setup within this larger wave C. But before that, we will need to be discussing about the critical resistance areas that we must break and the targets, the ideal targets that we should be watching out for within the completion of this wave B. Now, before we do that, I want to go quickly through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new. And in that case, here we are tracking still the idea of a possible impulse forming. Now, this scenario is quite fragile. We are tracking basically a series of 1-2 setups in this area, then a third wave up here, and now we are looking for the wave 4 correction, in which we expect to find support in the area between the $43.5 all the way down to the $13.9 level. And as long as we hold above the 50% retracement, we can track with high likelihood continuation to the upside in a wave 5 as part of an impulse. Now, I do have to say, it is possible to follow through to the upside outside of this support zone area and not manage to create an impulse. If we manage to push directly higher, it is not guaranteed that we are going to form an impulse overall, but it will not be also invalidated. And if we break below the 50% retracement, we will need to shift to other scenarios which wouldn't even have the same likelihoods, and they wouldn't even have the same expected extensions overall on this chart. Now, in this time frame here, the area of the wave 4 is in focus for me, where we do have a possible bottom. It is possible, but unlikely at this point, because to the upside we only have a 3-wave move. Even more so, we have a possible WXY pattern, in which case I wouldn't even be able to clearly consider this a wave 1 up, and here have a wave 2 correction and look for a third, fourth, and the fifth, even within the idea of an ending diagonal forming within this fifth wave to the upside. So we have other interpretations that we are tracking more clearly, or more specifically, the orange interpretation where we have a wave A down, we have here a wave B up, and now we are looking for a wave C to the downside to reset here the bottom within the wave 4, from which point we can attempt to create an initial clear 5-wave structure to the upside for a more reliable 1-2 as part of this larger 5th wave to the upside. Now, at this point, we do not know if we will follow directly through the orange scenario, or even if we will get an extension within the orange scenario, which is where the green interpretation comes in, where instead of having the wave B top here, we are looking at a wave W top in the green scenario, a wave X bottom, and then a wave Y to be forming to the upside, where we expect an ABC structure to break out of this line, the $66 level, and form an additional high, resetting this wave B. But after that, honestly, we are still focusing and expecting further continuation to the downside within a wave C, and in that case, we would again have the opportunity to reset this wave 4 in white. Now, in the shorter time frame, we are tracking this idea of an ABC structure, and we do have quite a relevant area of support. We have this ABC that seems to be forming, and we have the area of support between the $45.8 all the way down to the $32.9 at the 78.6% retracement to provide the support necessary for creating this reversal to the upside. If we end up breaking below the 78.6% retracement, it would be quite a great warning sign that we may be following through directly within the orange scenario, creating a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the downside in a wave C. And in that case, I would be watching out for the ideal target of the wave 3 in the orange interpretation that would be forming here internally, and we even have drawn these ideas shorter here, or closer, and the ideal target for the third wave to the downside would be the 138.2% extension, the $31.5 level, whereas if we are looking only for an ABC structure to the downside, we are looking at the 100% extension of the wave A, which is the $37.4 level. Now, we were expecting with high likelihood ever since we formed this initial 5-wave structure to the downside, we were expecting with high likelihood to still form a 3-wave move to the upside and then a follow-up 5-wave structure to the downside. Yeah, because once we form an initial 5-wave structure in one trend direction, we expect a 3-wave correction and continuation in that trend afterwards. And yeah, reliably so, we got it. We did have the opportunity to still manage to push higher within this idea of an ending diagonal, where we had the wave B bottom here and formed an ending diagonal within the the wave C in green to the upside. But it was extremely clear, it was presented extremely clearly that this was not the preferred interpretation, especially ever since actually we failed to create here a 5-wave move to the upside. We had attempted, we have failed, and we started preferring that interpretation ever since we broke somewhere around these levels, around the $50+ level actually. We were preferring to push lower and reset this wave B in green. And this seems to have been the case at this point. And now I do want to mention it is expected, I want to mention this again, it is still expected to form a 5-wave structure to the downside. At this point, I could still see this working out both as an impulse and as an ending diagonal. Now, for it to be a valid wave 3 to the downside within the orange scenario, this must be an impulse. And in that case, I would be looking at this something like 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, third wave down, fourth wave up, and then a fifth wave to come to complete this internal wave 3, and then a couple more 4 or 5 patterns to complete the larger wave 3 in orange. If we end up forming an ending diagonal, it is clearly the case that this is not an actual wave 3 to the downside. That would be good for us, and that is why I would like to track even the possibility of an impulse forming to the downside in this area, where I would need to allow the price to go in this correction in a wave 4. Now this is assuming we have bottomed within the internal wave 3. It is not certain at this point, we could still see further extensions, but this is the critical level that we must break for it to be any signal that this idea of an impulse to the downside forming here is done. And in that case, I would be watching out for resistance at the $41.3 level all the way up to the $45 level. And as long as we hold below these, we can still follow through in the orange scenario and create the impulse to the downside. Now, if I were to be interested in watching out for the level that we must break for a more clear bottom having already formed, well, I would need to also consider the idea of an ending diagonal, in which case I will be tracking this in green, let's say. But in this case, I would need to watch out for higher resistance levels and even allow the 61.8% retracement to provide such resistance. And in that case, I would be watching out at the levels between the $41.5 all the way up to the $47.3. And yeah, if we manage to break above the 61.8% retracement, there is a good chance we may have bottomed. But even then, I would still need to see a 5-wave structure to the upside for a more reliable 1-2 setup for a long entry for this larger wave C that we expect to form to higher prices. And for now, personally, it is likely, I believe it is likely to still follow lower, to still form lower prices, even within both interpretations. I could even argue that this is a 1, this is a 2, this is a third, where in that case, I would see a 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th to form the larger wave 3, and then expect still in a 1, 2, 3, 4th, 5th to complete this pattern, this wave C. Once again, we need to form a 5-wave structure to the downside within this wave C. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.